In Between is an indie title developed by the people over there at Gently Mad Studios and published through Head Up Games. Daniel Dean, the main person who pretty much is responsible for giving life to this game, was, according to him, something that started as a bachelor thesis and is now the first project of the company he kinda built, which is Gently Mad Studios. You see, during this game's development, Daniel was studying intermediate design at Hochschule Trier in Germany. In 2013, he got his bachelor's degree and was also the same year that the first trailer for In Between dropped. Now, of course, the game in its early stages was not as polished as the final product we have today. This is probably due to the fact that this game started off as a simple Flash game. However, over time it was converted over to the Unity 3D platform. On August 25, 2015, it was released on Steam, but was ported over to the PS4 on October 8, 2019. Of course, you should know the PS4 version is what I'm going to be rocking out with today, so let's get into it. The presentation of In Between during pivotal story segments looks like something I would see from a memorable children's picture book. The character designs are very unique in their portrayal of this seemingly black man. The emotions evoked by the visual storytelling is phenomenal. Even without the voice of the narrator, the images alone could tell the story itself. During the gameplay, however, is when things could become a little bit stale in the visual department. Each level is designed very well, along with the various obstacles that are set out to stop you. However, the dark beige color scheme could become a little bit tiresome if this is what you're going to be seeing for a long consecutive amount of time. Which is why, whenever a major story segment transpires, it's always welcome. The story of In Between tells the story of a man who is currently going through a transitional phase between life and death. During the stages that the player goes through, every so often a hidden mirror-like picture reveals itself to give more exposition of the character's life, experiences, memories, and thoughts.
My father was an accountant. I watched him die, very slowly, one TV show at a time.
According to Daniel, the game is based around the 5 stages of grief, the emotional stages everyone experiences when facing a decisive turning point in life. The sensitive topic of death is frequently used in games, but mostly on a superficial level. Now, if you don't know what the 5 stages of grief are, they are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and lastly acceptance. This is what that terminology coming to term kinda means. It's usually used when adjusting to things that may have impacted one state of being in one form or another. These are the theoretical stages that was created and described by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She was a psychiatrist that studied various phenomena centered around death. The first time she introduced this concept was within her 1969 book entitled On Death and Dying. In her study, she explains how this event could affect a person psychologically and those who are in some way connected in relation to those who have passed away and those who are seemingly next for the Grim Reaper's appointment. Surprisingly enough, this game does a fantastic job at humanizing the character you play as with the level of depth and a sense of maturity that it asks its audience to understand and acknowledge. The gameplay of In Between is essentially a puzzle platformer where the goal is to reach these doors at the end of each level. However, getting to these doors will require you to manipulate gravity towards the direction in which you want to go in. At first, things like any other game start off simple, but with each level completed, another mechanic consisting of obstacles would appear, making each approach require some more thought. For example, in the beginning, the player will only just have to worry about not being impaled on spikes. The next thing you know, you end up not only having to worry about spikes, but also which directions these huge pillars will go based on my movement. When you learn the basics, the further into this game the player goes, the more interesting and creative obstacles get thrown into the midst of things on top of the fundamentals and familiarities you may come to know. Prepare for a whole lot of trial and error in playing this game. Think of it like playing a mind teaser like Sudoku, or even one of those puzzles that adds how many shapes are seen within a figure. When the player messes up, the game automatically goes back to the beginning of the stage in an instant. There are no number of tries, lives, or a timer to rush you. Just as relaxing and common as this game is, the player can take their time and just think of what their next move is.
Sooner or later, everybody dies. It's inevitable. If you want a happy ending, that of course depends on where you stop your story. Orson Welles said that. It's ridiculous.
The sound design of this game is really something. The first thing that grabbed my attention was the voice of the narrator that not only serves as the main vehicle steering this game's story forward, but just from the tone of this person's voice makes everything sound a little bit more intriguing. The second thing that grabbed my attention was how natural the sounds behaved when hearing them during the first story segment. And last but not least is the sound of glass breaking. Alright, so when you lose due to being smushed, impaled by a spike or what have you, the screen shatters and you can hear the sound of glass being shattered, and then reversed. A little helpful advice, please get used to hearing this. But nevertheless, in combination with the music, makes this game a little bit tranquil. Actually, speaking of music, the music for In Between was done by Daniel himself. Most of the composition sounds very nice with a touch of a foreboding thought added onto it. This ominous atmosphere provided is very calming as well, but I guess that's to be expected for a game that's talking about death. The ever so present piano ballad, which creates a nice medium, also serves as a nice backdrop in trying to figure out answers to a lot of questions not only this game brings up, but just about life in general. I tried looking for the soundtrack of In Between via Gently Mad's official website, but I guess the Bandcamp is not up yet. However, you can listen to the music of In Between via Daniel's SoundCloud or purchase the soundtrack via Steam. I will provide the links in the description below if you're thinking about checking it out. Now it's time to rate this game. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The game's narrative is great, and the execution of how this game message is being conveyed is rather interesting to me. The main thing I believe that will intrigue the player and continue to play this game is to simply see what's going to happen next. I would consider this game somewhat of an individual psychological character study. In Between is now available for Steam, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Apple iOS, and Google Play. Strangely enough, if you have somewhat of a stressful day, this game is perfect for calming somebody down, and at the same time give the players something to think about in regards to how life can be sometimes. But anyway, this game is only going to run you for about like $12. If you have it, I recommend picking it up. Peace y'all.